Hey there guys, this is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day. And I am finally back from my vacation. And my first video could very easily have been about all of the chaos happening surrounding Xbox and Microsoft, and really all of the bad news. It is nothing but bad news, and I think that we all know that. It would be a very easy video to make, and trust me, I have so many thoughts on it, and I've been spewing a lot of those thoughts on Twitter and social media the last 24 hours because it's so crazy. But I don't want to make another negative Xbox video because I've always said I'm rooting for Xbox. I've been cheering for Xbox. In theory, I like Xbox because I've liked them in years past, but I haven't had a reason to discuss anything positive surrounding the company in so long. And I just don't want to make another negative video. It's just not interesting to me, even though I'm really pissed that Perfect Dark was canceled. Oh my god, I'm so upset about that. But instead, there's another important topic bouncing around in my head that I want to discuss with you guys today, which has to do with the impending release of one Donkey Kong Bananza, which is Nintendo's next big first-party release, and it is the first new game to release for the Switch 2 in the Switch 2 era, right? Because the Switch 2 at this point, it is almost a month old. I'm recording this on Thursday, July 3rd of 2025, so in 2 more days, it's going to be the 1-month anniversary since the release of the console, which is insane to think about. What even is time anymore? It just makes no sense. And so, of course, the Switch 2 launched with Mario Kart World, and that was their premier first-party killer app title for the console, and Donkey Kong will be the second brand new next-generation Switch 2 exclusive release. And I've discussed it many, many times since the game was revealed back in April, including even the Donkey Kong Direct about a week or 2 ago now. I think the game looks fantastic. I thought it looked great in April. I thought it looked even better after the Direct, as most of us did. And now the game is like 2 weeks away. It releases the day after my birthday, which I've mentioned several times on prior videos. It is everything I want. A huge single-player game, a giant adventure, a platforming game, and beyond that, a Nintendo-made platforming game. So basically my favorite genre in existence. And it's also the return of Donkey Kong. We haven't had a new game in 11 years since Tropical Freeze in 2014, which of course I still own and play on the Wii U. That game is awesome. And this game, Donkey Kong Bananza, when we take a look back at the first month of the Switch 2's life, as great as the console is, in my opinion, and as fun as Mario Kart World has been, this is the game, Donkey Kong Bananza, that the Switch 2 and us, the fans and players, really need right now. So what do I mean when I say that? What I'm getting at is that the Switch 2 desperately needs something more than Mario Kart World and even the few third-party games, pretty much all of which were ports of previously released games anyway, including my favorite, which is Cyberpunk 2077. Outside of Mario Kart World, we need something else to keep us excited and engaged in our Nintendo Switch 2s, right? And again, I'm very much on record thinking the Switch 2, while not perfect, because no video game console is ever going to be perfect, it's freaking great, man. I love the Joy-Cons, I love the screen, I'm mostly a TV player, but I've absolutely enjoyed playing the Switch 2 portably. Granted, I did travel this past week, right? So that was an excuse for me to take it on a plane and at the place I was staying where I traveled to, and I got to play it a little bit just because I was literally not home with my dock. But in general, the Switch 2 is such an impressive piece of hardware. Cyberpunk is a fantastic port. Mario Kart World looks great. The upgrade to Tears of the Kingdom, which I've also played a lot, is just so impressive to me. I love the Joy-Cons. I think I already said that, but I really do love those Joy-Cons. And so the Switch 2 is great. I'm a big fan. But I think a lot of this comes down to Mario Kart World. And I've said this also in many videos recently. Mario Kart World is awesome. As far as just being a Mario Kart game, a brand new next-gen Mario Kart game, it's great. I have very few complaints. There are things I would improve about it. I'm not going to say that that game is perfect either, but it is super fun. I like the new feel of the racing and the gameplay and the karts. I like the Knockout Tour, of course we all do. I'm even finally starting to enjoy playing it online a little bit. And I think it's cool. I even like the open world. People complain about the open world thing. I think it's cool for what it is. I mean, it's not something you really spend a whole lot of time in because, of course, all you're doing is just driving around in circles in a big map. But it is fun, and some of the challenges are cool when you come across them. So Mario Kart World is great. However, it is a multiplayer-focused, competitive, online-focused racing game. And so, just by definition, those kinds of qualities limit, I think, the longevity of the game. Yes, you could say that, oh, a competitive online game, if it's a racing, a fighting, whatever, you can play that forever because you just keep playing round after round after round, and you can play that for years and years. And sure, that's true. I like Call of Duty. I like Mario Kart Online. I like Smash Brothers. I like Mortal Kombat. You know, I absolutely do enjoy games like that, but I'm not the kind of person, and I think a lot of people are not the kind of people, where that's all they need. You just play one thing online, repetitive, round after round after round forever. You need something more to sink your teeth into, which brings me back to Donkey Kong Bananza, which, as I said, is the big epic single-player adventure, a Nintendo mascot, their oldest mascot, making a return in a game that has everyone super excited. Thank God it was only a month and a half after launch for the Switch 2 for Donkey Kong to finally release. Ironically, I'm recording this the morning after Nintendo uploaded like an 8-minute Donkey Kong Bananza overview trailer, which, as most of us know, Nintendo has been doing overview trailers for a lot of their big first-party games for quite a few years in the Switch era. They'll be anywhere from like 3 or 5 minutes, or in this case, this one's like an 8-minute one. And they're very cool. They give you a lot of great stuff and a lot of more footage and B-roll that I get to play here for you guys to watch, which is cool. Now, I'll admit, I haven't had a chance to watch this yet, but I've been seeing some reactions to it, and it seems like it's essentially just the exact same info and content from the Donkey Kong Direct, only just kind of, you know, repackaged in an 8-minute version, essentially. I don't think there's anything entirely new in it. And if there is, then I apologize again, because like I said, I haven't watched it. But the point of this video isn't even to break down that trailer. It just shows that Nintendo is turning on the marketing for this game because they know after the launch of the Switch 2 and the launch of Mario Kart alongside of it, this is now their next big product, their next big game, their next big thing to keep us excited in playing our Switch 2s and hopefully continue to sell Switch 2s to new people for those who can actually find them out in the wild. It's important that we focus in on the release cadence that Nintendo is already showing us they're doing for the Switch 2 here, to release with Mario Kart and then only 5 or 6 weeks later release with your next big game. That is smart. And again, especially so because Mario Kart is an online racing competitive game. Like, that only lasts so long for so many people. We need something to have like hours and hours to play and just get lost in this giant world. That is what Ingot Isle is the name of the area, and you know, you're going down further below the crust or below the surface or whatever in Donkey Kong Bonanza and experiencing all these worlds, and it just looks so fantastic. We need something like that. And we have to call out how it seems like Nintendo is setting up something similar to what they did with the Switch 1 back in 2017, right? It's very well known and famous that Nintendo's launch year 2017 for the Nintendo Switch was incredible because there were so many huge new first-party and exclusive games releasing from the release of the Switch in March to the end of the year in December. It's nuts, man. And, you know, even the Switch launching with Breath of the Wild in March, I believe it was just the following month in April. You can check my dates if I'm wrong, but I know I'm at least close. It was around the next month in April that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe released. Now, of course, that was just a port of an old game that all of us had already played on the Wii U, but it was still very exciting, and it was a Mario Kart game, so that's kind of a fun little coincidence there. And it was something that went on to sell like 60 million copies just on the Switch, not even including the 8 or 9 million it sold on the Wii U, right? So clearly, it's like their biggest game ever is the Switch-specific version of Mario Kart. That only came out a month after Breath of the Wild and the Switch did, you know? Soon after that was ARMS. Soon after that was Mario Odyssey and Fire Emblem Warriors and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Like, maybe Captain Toad? Was Captain Toad 2017? Maybe not. Don't even pay attention to that. The point is, Nintendo saw such great success having a strong, library to consistently release. After the release of the Switch, they maintained a strong cadence, and it worked out obviously very well for them because it sold 150 million units now. And so with the Switch 2, and God, I said this, I made a video about how the Switch's launch year library is a lot stronger than people are giving it credit for. We only see evidence that they're doing the same, and I'll even repeat some of those points, because they're launching with a brand new Mario Kart game, which is basically their biggest franchise at this point. They've got a Donkey Kong game coming out. The most important game ever, Metroid Prime 4, right, coming out in 2025, so the return of Metroid and Samus, the return of Metroid Prime specifically. Massive, massive deal. There's a next-gen version that is showcasing the graphics and the performance and the mouse controls. That game's going to be obviously the best game ever made, and is also going to be, in my opinion, very successful. Just you wait, Metroid Prime 4 will be a massively successful Metroid game. There's the new Pokemon game, which I know is also cross-gen, so that's kind of in the same conversation in a lot of ways. There's Hyrule Warriors. It's just crazy. And then sometime next year we get the Duskbloods, which is a third-party but exclusive game. And I'm sure there's another one or two I'm leaving out. Kirby Air Riders 2 is coming out, which could be very exciting potentially, based on what we learn about that. A new Sakurai game. And so they're doing the same thing that they did with the Switch, man. And I'm lucky in the sense that Donkey Kong, which is my perfect kind of game, a genre that just speaks to me, a character and a world that I'm so excited for. It releases the day after my birthday, right? So I'm like so lucky that on my birthday week, I literally get to just like turn a year older, then I get to go pick up my copy of Donkey Kong from GameStop, and suddenly I've got my first brand new game in the Switch 2 era after the launch day release of Mario Kart World. And that is why I say, and probably will title this video, something to the effect of Donkey Kong Bananza is the game that the Switch 2 really needs right now. Because the Switch 2 needs its next big new game, and us, the gamers and players who have Switch 2s, we need something new to get excited for, and it's pretty cool that only 5 or 6 weeks later, we get this huge Donkey Kong game.